Hello everyone, welcome back to Anime Dreams. Today, we're diving into a fascinating what-if scenario. What if Kurotsuchi were saved by Naruko? Part 3. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer, the content on this channel is purely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos, full credits go to the original creators and copyright holders. Alright, let's jump right in and explore this alternate path. How's it going, you three? I'm your Jonin sensei, Mako Uchiha. The three Jonin stared at their sensei with a mixture of awe, curiosity, and nervous anticipation. She's an Uchiha like Sasuke? Naruko thought in surprise. Another Uchiha, huh? Hope she's not too intimidating, Kurotsuchi thought with a playful smirk. Well, this is interesting, an Uchiha as a sensei, Genma added, grinning. The three Jonin quickly rose and bowed politely. Good morning, sensei, they said in unison. Laughing softly, Mako approached them. She rested her chin thoughtfully between her thumb and index finger, examining them carefully. You three seem promising. Let's head to the roof so we can get to know each other better, alright? She led them out of the classroom. Academy rooftop. On the rooftop, Mako perched gracefully on a guardrail while the Jonin sat on the ground, slightly anxious. For introductions, I want to know simple things about you, your dreams, favorite or least favorite foods, hobbies, things like that. I'll start. My name is Mako Uchiha, from the Uchiha clan, and I'm 22 years old. I enjoy rice balls and crab sticks, but I'm not fond of dishonesty or broken promises. I was a standout student at the Ninja Academy and later served in the Anbu. I was offered a position as a Jonin instructor, which I accepted. Since you three are my first Jonin team, I know we're going to have an exciting journey together. Now, young man with the senbone in your mouth, your turn. My name is Genma Shiranui, the brown-haired boy began. I enjoy pumpkin broth, but I really don't like spinach. My dream is to become one of the Hokage's elite guards, and my hobby is traveling. That's about it. Satisfied, Mako turned to Kurotsuchi. And you, young lady? I'm Kurotsuchi Kamizuru, an exchange student from Iwa. My grandfather wanted to foster better relations between Iwa and Konoha. I enjoy dried noodles, but steamed vegetables aren't my favorite. My dream is to become the fourth Tsuchikage after my grandfather. She explained with a confident smile. Mako then faced the spiky blonde Jonin. And you? Your turn. Naruko puffed out her chest proudly. I'm Naruko Uzumaki. I could eat pork ramen all day. I love sparring in taijutsu with Kurotsuchi, and my dream is to become the greatest Hokage Konoha has ever seen. That way, everyone will recognize my efforts and hard work. Impressive, Mako thought, smiling warmly. So we have an aspiring Hokage, the future Tsuchikage, and a future elite guard. I think this is one of the most promising teams in this generation. Alright, nice to meet you three. There isn't much to do today except a quick review. You all know how the ninja rank system works, right? Mako asked, earning nods in response. Great.
Missions are ranked similarly, D is the easiest, then C, B, and A. Back when I was in the Anbu, I specialized in advanced operations, strategy, and direct action assignments.
Because of my experience, you three will get missions that are challenging, but rewarding. Sound good? The Jonin cheered enthusiastically. Mako giggled at their excitement. This is going to be an interesting adventure. Meet me tomorrow at 8 in the morning at the front of the Hokage Tower. He will assign our first mission, so pack a few days' worth of supplies. Until then, enjoy your day off. Before they could respond, Mako vanished in a swirl of shadows, leaving the Jonin astonished. What just happened? Naruko exclaimed. That's a Shunshine technique, Kurotsuchi explained, impressed. Her sensei has her own unique version. Genma yawned. Well, I guess I should get some rest then. Fine, I'll do the same. See you tomorrow, Naruko, Kurotsuchi said, leaving the rooftop in a flash. Yawn, good night, Genma, Naruko mumbled as she curled up to sleep on the rooftop. Naruko's apartment, next morning. Ring ring. The alarm jolted Naruko awake. Irritated, she tossed a sigh at it, pinning it to the wall. After rubbing her eyes and stretching, she changed into fresh clothes and stepped out of her room. Good morning, Naruko. Yo, Naruko. Caught off guard, Naruko saw Genma and Kurotsuchi on her couch, enjoying her snacks. Hey! Why are you guys in my apartment? Politeness says knock first. Rules don't always apply when it's me, Kurotsuchi teased, mischievously. Thanks for the snacks. Yeah, excellent choice of junk food, Genma added, grabbing another bite. Naruko grumbled but shrugged it off. Fine, I'll shower, then we can head out to meet Mako-sensei. After getting ready, the trio carried their Konoha assault packs to the Hokage Tower. Mako was leaning against a wall, eating rice balls. How's my Jinan this morning? She asked. Could be better, sensei, Naruko replied, slumping slightly. Why? What's wrong? Oh, nothing, Kurotsuchi teased. Me and Genma snuck into her apartment earlier and gave her a bit of a surprise, Kurotsuchi added. I see. Next time, let me join the fun, Mako laughed. Ready to get our mission? Yes, sensei, Genma replied. Alright then, let's see Lord Hokage. They entered the tower, greeted the secretary, and climbed the long staircase to Hiruzen's office. Come in, came a warm voice. Mako led, followed by Kurotsuchi, Naruko, and Genma. Ah, Mako. How are you today? Hiruzen greeted, smiling. I am well, Lord Hokage, Mako replied respectfully. I presume you're here for the mission we discussed? Yes, and I brought my students as well. Hiruzen's gaze shifted to the Jinan. Hello, Naruko, Kurotsuchi, Genma. How are you today? Very good, Hokage-sama. We're proud to be shinobi of this village, Naruko answered. Even as a new kunoichi, it feels wonderful to serve Konoha, Kurotsuchi added. Excellent. Your grandfather is very proud of you, Kurotsuchi, Hiruzen noted. My achievements are expected, of course, Kurotsuchi said confidently. Now, your first mission, Hiruzen continued. Normally, new Jinan would handle D-ranked tasks. But given Mako's expertise, you will handle upper C and lower B-ranked missions. These are more challenging, but also more rewarding. Naruko's eyes widened. Challenging? Sounds exciting. Genma and Kurotsuchi nodded eagerly. Hiruzen smiled. Your mission is to investigate a series of incidents in Yugakure. You will need to observe, report, and ensure safety. Given your skills and Mako-sensei's guidance, I am confident in your success. The best Jonin, guiding the top 3 students, sounds like we're in excellent hands, Mako said, giggling. The Jinan exchanged determined glances. We're ready, Hokage-sama. This is our chance to grow and show our abilities, Naruko said proudly. I see. Hiruzen took a gentle puff from his pipe. Then you are officially assigned to this mission. It is expected to last anywhere from 3 days to a week, and judging by the packs you've already prepared, you seem ready. If there's nothing else, you're dismissed. Bidding farewell to Hiruzen, Team Mako exited the Hokage's office. Heading down the stairs, Mako turned to face her 3 Jinan. You all can rest for the next hour. I'm not leaving immediately, so take some time to relax, and then meet me at the main gate, okay? But sensei, I'm so excited to start this mission now. Naruko pouted. Naruko, you can't just rush into a mission without some rest, Kurotsuchi gently chided. I don't mind resting, but if Mako-sensei insists, I'll follow, Genma added. Then it's settled, rest for an hour and meet me at the gate afterward. Later, everyone, Mako said, before disappearing in a shimmer of sunshine technique assisted by a flock of ravens. This is so boring. I'm going to wait at the gate instead of resting, Naruko muttered. Then don't complain if you feel tired during the mission, Kurotsuchi warned with a smirk. I won't be carrying her if she does. Genma added, and they all went their separate ways. On the road to Yugakure. After an hour of rest, the Jinan met up with Mako at the main gate and began their journey to Yugakure. Naruko, however, was far from calm. This is so dull. Let's run, Naruko exclaimed. As she tried to dash forward, Kurotsuchi gently grabbed her jacket, keeping her from rushing. Relax, Naruko. We need to pace ourselves to avoid tiring out before we reach our destination. But we'd get there faster. Yes, but arriving exhausted won't help us if we need to act quickly, Kurotsuchi said, shaking her head. She cared deeply for Naruko, but her friend's energy could sometimes be overwhelming. She has a point, Genma agreed. We need to stay alert. All right, you're right, Naruko conceded. That's my spirited friend, Kurotsuchi said, gently tapping her on the cheek. Mako watched the exchange with amusement. Their bond was strong, and it was a joy to see them interact. After this brief moment, they continued on their journey. The walk remained quiet for over an hour until Genma spoke. Mako-sensei, are there still ninja in Yugakure? There used to be, but after the Third Shinobi War, they decided to focus on being a peaceful village rather than a ninja community. Now, it's a prosperous village and a popular tourist spot, Mako explained. I heard a little about that. Did they play a role in the war? Kurotsuchi asked. They didn't have much chance. When Kumo invaded, they were quickly overpowered. Konoha helped them, but afterwards, they chose not to continue as a ninja village. I was involved in that war, even at the age of 8, Mako added. Wait, you were in the war? Kurotsuchi asked, surprised. Yes, children were sometimes sent into combat during those times. I survived, but my teammates did not, Mako said quietly. It was a hard lesson. I'm sorry, sensei, Kurotsuchi said sincerely. Mako ruffled her friend's hair affectionately. No need to apologize. It was beyond anyone's control. Naruko suddenly pointed ahead. Look! The border. A sign read, now exiting Fire Country. Continue for 3 miles to you. Finally. I was getting tired of walking, Kurotsuchi said. Don't slow down now, we're almost there. Mako encouraged. Several more hours passed until they arrived at Yugakure. The village was lively and welcoming, with residents going about their daily lives. After presenting the mission documents to the local authorities, the team was allowed to continue. It's been years since I last visited, Mako said. We should find a place to rest first. I agree. Some rest will help us recover from the long walk, Kurotsuchi said with a yawn. Same here, Genma added. Finally. I'm ready to rest, Naruko exclaimed. After a short search, they found a modest but comfortable inn in the village center. 2 rooms were reserved, one for the girls and one for the boys. Rest for a few hours, then we'll start gathering information, Mako instructed. Talk to as many villagers as you can. Everyone might have valuable details. Yes, sensei. The Jinan responded. Mako and Kurotsuchi went to their room, leaving Naruko and Genma to settle in. This bed feels so soft, Naruko said, laying down and sighing with relief. I'm curious about the situation we're investigating, Genma said thoughtfully. Whoever is causing trouble must be very unusual, given how peaceful the villagers seem. Sometimes there are a few who act differently, Naruko agreed. In the girls' room. Kurotsuchi and Mako relaxed on their beds. This feels wonderful, sensei, Kurotsuchi said, hugging her pillow. Enjoy it while you can, Mako replied. Out in the field, we won't always have this luxury. What if the situation becomes too difficult? Kurotsuchi asked hesitantly. Mako smiled reassuringly. Don't worry. I'm here, and I'll make sure nothing happens to you. We'll handle everything together. Okay, sensei, Kurotsuchi said, settling in for a nap. Mako paused thoughtfully. I hope things go smoothly. Evening operations. After resting, the team was ready to gather information. Around 7 p.m., Mako divided them into pairs, Genma with Mako, and Naruko with Kurotsuchi. Genma and I will explore the village, asking villagers for information. Naruko and Kurotsuchi, you'll check the forest to the east, Mako instructed. Yes, sensei. The 2 pairs nodded. Mako handed Naruko and Kurotsuchi a map marked with important areas. What is this for, sensei? Kurotsuchi asked. These marks show where unusual events have occurred. Investigate each location carefully for any clues left behind. Even small details can help us solve the situation. Got it. Let's go, Naruko, Kurotsuchi said, playfully tugging her along. Watching them depart, Mako turned to Genma. So, what's the story with these 2? Can't tell you, sensei, Genma replied, casually using a senbone as a toothpick. That's suspicious, Mako laughed, and they headed off in their own direction. Naruko and Kurotsuchi made their way toward the busy shopping center, unaware that a mysterious figure watched them from the shadows of a nearby alley. The figure then quietly followed in the direction Naruko and Kurotsuchi were headed. Excuse me, sir, do you have any information about the person who's been causing trouble around here? Genma asked an elderly shopkeeper. I'm sorry, young one, the shopkeeper replied, his voice a little shaky. The only thing I've heard is that she might be from Kumagakure and was involved in the last war. Beyond that, there's really not much known. Please, if you don't need anything else, I'd like to be left alone. Ah, all right, thank you, sir, Genma said, walking back to Mako and shaking his head. This is harder than I expected. What good is this if we can't even get a proper description? Mako groaned. They had already asked dozens of villagers. Honestly, sensei, maybe it's just a rumor. What if the reports were exaggerated or completely made up? It's not a rumor, Genma, Mako replied firmly. That old man looked genuinely frightened. Something is happening here. You're right. But it's not like she would target us just because we ask about her. If anything, as shinobi, we might naturally get in the way, but we just need to stay cautious. The two continued their search. With night approaching, the villagers were hesitant to stay outside, so Genma and Mako knew they needed to finish quickly. In the forest. On the outskirts of the village, Naruko and Kurotsuchi had already inspected most of the areas where incidents had occurred. Like Mako and Genma, they had found no clues, nothing to indicate who was responsible. They walked along a narrow path before sitting beneath a large tree. This is so boring. Kurotsuchi groaned. We've searched everywhere, and still no sign of anything. I'm starting to think the villagers left on their own. Hey, that's not funny, Naruko exclaimed. Kurotsuchi shrugged, feigning innocence, but their stomachs growled loudly at the same time. I'm hungry, she admitted, head drooping. Naruko smiled and reached into her pocket, handing Kurotsuchi a chocolate bar. Naruko, did you give this to me? Kurotsuchi asked, surprised. Of course. It's my last one, but since you're hungry, you can have it, Naruko said warmly. Kurotsuchi shook her head. No, you should eat it, you need the energy more than I do. I insist, you take it, Naruko pushed the bar gently back. And so began a playful back and forth as they tried to insist the other eat the chocolate. After a few moments, Kurotsuchi triumphantly unwrapped the bar and playfully made Naruko take a bite. See? That wasn't so bad, she teased. All right, you win, Naruko said, swallowing with a small laugh. Feeling satisfied, Kurotsuchi pulled out the map Mako had given them and studied it. There was one area they hadn't yet explored. Hey Naruko, I think we missed a spot, Kurotsuchi said, tapping her on the shoulder. Naruko looked skeptical. Really? We already checked everywhere Mako marked. Kurotsuchi pointed to the unexamined area on the map. Naruko's eyes widened. A graveyard? She exclaimed. That's right. Sounds exciting, Kurotsuchi said with enthusiasm. How is that exciting? What if it's scary? Naruko protested. Don't worry. There's nothing to fear, Kurotsuchi reassured her. Now, come on, we have a graveyard to explore. Naruko hesitated, arms crossed, but Kurotsuchi grabbed her hand and led her toward the graveyard. A mysterious figure watched them silently from the treetops. Back with Genma and Mako. Despite asking nearly everyone in the village, Mako and Genma were still at a dead end. Frustrated, they sat on a bench in front of a small shop. This is so frustrating. We've asked everyone and still have no leads, Mako complained. Tell me about it, sensei. Maybe we should call it a night, Genma suggested, casually using a senbon. Mako checked her watch. It's almost 8:30. Let's find Naruko and Kurotsuchi. Then she remembered something from the mission scroll. Wait, Genma. The scroll noted a local medical office had a survivor from a recent incident. Mako realized this could provide the information they needed. Let's pay the survivor a visit first, she said, and they rushed to the medical office. The nurse escorted them to a room where a teenage boy sat on a bed, looking wary. Hi, I'm Mako Uchiha, a jonin from Kanahagakure, and this is Genma Shiranui, one of my genin, Mako introduced herself. I'm Yahiko Myojin. Why are Konoha shinobi visiting me? The boy asked quietly. We heard you might be able to help us with some information about the person causing trouble, Mako explained. Yahiko hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. Okay. I can tell you what I saw. With that, he described a figure with wavy white hair, a tan kimono, a red scarf, black boots, and a black straw hat. Mako and Genma immediately left, knowing Naruko and Kurotsuchi were still in the forest. Back in the forest. Naruko shivered. Kurotsuchi, it's so dark, I'm a little scared. Kurotsuchi smiled and teased, is little Naruko afraid of the dark? I'm not afraid. I just didn't expect it, Naruko admitted, cheeks flushed. Kurotsuchi gently encouraged her. You don't need to pretend to be brave for anyone. Being yourself is what makes you strong. Naruko smiled at her encouragement. Thanks. I'll try. Together, They approached the small shrine and the surrounding graveyard, ready to investigate further despite the eerie atmosphere. Wow! This mausoleum is amazing, exclaimed an excited Naruko, marveling at the intricate interior of the structure. Look at these coffins. Naruko, keep your voice down. Don't be so careless, Kurotsuchi said, rubbing her temple. She had hoped exploring the mausoleum would be a quiet adventure, but Naruko's fascination with the elegant interior had made her forget all caution. Oh, sorry, Naruko whispered apologetically. Yeah. Whatever, Naruko. If you're done examining the coffins, we should leave. I hoped we'd find some clues here, but it seems we came up empty, Kurotsuchi said. Taking Naruko's hand, the two teens began to exit the mausoleum. Since they hadn't uncovered anything of significance, Kurotsuchi decided it was best to return to their motel. It's getting late. Let's head back, Mako-sensei and Genma must be waiting for us, Kurotsuchi said. Alright, let's hurry, Naruko agreed. She grasped Kurotsuchi's hand, and they started toward the exit. However, Kurotsuchi suddenly paused, sensing a strange presence. Wait, Naruko. Huh? What's wrong? Naruko asked. Closing her eyes, Kurotsuchi focused her senses. All she could hear were the usual nighttime sounds, crickets chirping, owls calling, and insects buzzing, until... Watch out! Kurotsuchi shoved Naruko to the ground, narrowly avoiding a flurry of shuriken that whizzed past them. Ah! What's happening? Naruko exclaimed, startled. More shuriken rained down from above. Both teens leapt aside, narrowly avoiding the projectiles, which embedded harmlessly in the dirt. Landing a few feet away, they drew their weapons, Kurotsuchi with her katana, Naruko with her ninjato, and stood back to back in a defensive stance. Alright, who's there? Show yourself, Kurotsuchi demanded. Only silence answered them, until a figure appeared with a sudden flash of lightning. Startled, the teens jumped back a few feet. Turning to face the newcomer, they saw a tall figure, over 6 feet, wearing a black straw hat and a tan kimono. His face remained partially hidden, angled toward the ground. Who are you, and what do you want? Kurotsuchi asked firmly. The figure slowly lifted his head, revealing a sly smile. Meanwhile, at the edge of the village, Mako and Genma hurried toward the forest, anxious about Naruko and Kurotsuchi. Genma had been curious about Mako's sudden urgency. Sensei, what's going on? Why are we rushing? He asked again. They're in potential danger, Mako replied. Danger? From who? Didn't you hear what Yahiko said? Mako asked. He handed over a piece of paper with the description of a skilled combatant. Genma studied it and nodded. The child mentioned someone wearing a red scarf and tan kimono with white, wavy hair. That made you uneasy. Why? The individual's name is Udo Jin-e, Mako said, causing Genma's eyes to widen. Wait. The Udo Jin-e? The one known as Kumagakure's most formidable swordsman? Yes, the same, Mako confirmed. There's no time to explain, let's move quickly to find Naruko and Kurotsuchi. Back in the forest, the mysterious man chuckled. Well, what do we have here? A Konoha Jinan accompanied by an Iwa Jinan? And one is the Tsuchikage's granddaughter. How intriguing. The teens noted his headband bore the Kumagakure insignia. You're from Kumo, aren't you? And you've been causing trouble in you? Kurotsuchi asked. Impressive deduction, Tsuchikage's granddaughter. You're sharp, he replied. Naruko, frustrated, shouted, why are you causing so much trouble for everyone? The man chuckled darkly. If you have questions, answer them with your swords, he said. I am Udo Jin-e, Kumagakure's most skilled warrior. Kurotsuchi felt a chill. She's definitely strong, Naruko thought. The two teens nodded to each other and charged. Jin-e, confident in his skill, easily intercepted their blades with his own. Huh? No way. They both exclaimed, surprised by his strength. You underestimate your opponents, Kurotsuchi said, preparing to counter. She used her unique technique, lava release, quicklime congealing technique. Jin-e dodged, but Kurotsuchi delivered a swift roundhouse kick, pushing him back. Naruko seized the moment, leaping with her ninjato aimed at him. Jin-e blocked just in time. Very good for Jinan, he acknowledged. But you'll need more than that to overcome me. Kurotsuchi and Naruko regrouped, ready for another round. The forest air crackled with energy as both sides prepared for the next clash. Naruko's eyes gleamed. Shadow Clone Jutsu. She called, summoning dozens of copies that surrounded Jin-E. He smirked, amused. "Do you think clones will trouble me?" he asked, raising his sword, preparing to counter the next assault. Kurotsuchi began forming hand seals. Water style, water trumpet. Seeing the Iwa teen spray water onto the hardened quicklime on the ground, Jin-E's eyes widened in surprise as the dried substance seemed to expand. He tried to jump away, only for the Naruko clones to swarm him, gently pinning him to the ground. "Ah!" Jin-E cried out in frustration as the quicklime wrapped around his feet, keeping him from moving. "Got him," Kurotsuchi shouted excitedly. "Your move, Naruko." "On it. Take this." Naruko rushed toward the trapped Jin-E, who struggled to lift his sword arm as a few shadow clones held him in place. The real Naruko closed in, holding her Tusai firmly. Jumping upward, she aimed carefully at Jin-E. "Time to end this." Jin-E managed to swing his body back and forth, sending the clones flying off him and crashing onto the ground, dispelling them. With his hands finally free, he lifted his katana, only for it to get caught between the prongs of Naruko's sai. "Almost had him," Naruko thought, noticing that Jin-E's eyes were still closed. "Nice try," Jin-E chuckled softly. "Ugh, Kurotsuchi. Hurry and move while I hold his sword," Naruko shouted. "Got it." Kurotsuchi charged forward, katana extended, aiming carefully at Jin-E. Hearing her footsteps, Jin-E used his strength to push Naruko gently backward, causing her to drop her sai. "Hold on," Naruko muttered as she landed safely. "I've got this, Jin-E," Kurotsuchi shouted, closing in. But just as her katana came within a few feet of him, Jin-E opened his eyes wide. "Ninja art, Shin no Ippo." Naruko noticed Kurotsuchi seemed frozen in place. "Kurotsuchi?" she called out. Kurotsuchi tried to move but could only barely graze Jin-E with her sword.
I can't move," Kurotsuchi admitted, voice trembling.
"K Kurotsuchi? What happened?" Naruko asked, alarmed. Jin-E looked at Naruko and let out a sly laugh. "I performed a special technique, Shin no Ippo, sending an illusion that temporarily paralyzes her. Don't worry, it's not permanent." With a swift movement, Jin-E broke free from the quicklime and sent a gentle shove toward Kurotsuchi, causing her to stumble back. "Ah," Kurotsuchi gasped. Naruko quickly caught her friend and gently led her to a nearby tree stump. "Are you okay?"
I just can't move properly right now," Kurotsuchi admitted weakly.
Naruko nodded, standing up with her ninjato ready, eyes locked on Jin-E. "Oh? You're angry about my trick? Well, it looks like your friend makes a strong team, but now it's just you," Jin-E said with a mischievous grin. He raised his katana in a combat stance. Naruko glanced at Kurotsuchi, who offered a small, encouraging smile. "Naruko. Remember our training," she whispered. Nodding, Naruko faced Jin-E again. "Show me what you've got," she challenged. The two swung their swords in a synchronized clash that echoed through the graveyard. Jin-E tried a downward strike, but Naruko rolled gracefully around him and performed a clever spin kick, catching him off guard and sending him stumbling into a headstone. Recovering quickly, Jin-E tried another spinning attack. Naruko nimbly dodged, recalling techniques she had learned during sparring with Kurotsuchi. "One-handed thrust, just like Kurotsuchi taught me," she thought. She dodged skillfully as Jin-E attempted a forward diagonal slash and finally countered his stance with a precise upward strike. The movement sent Jin-E's sword flying, forcing him to step back. Naruko aimed her ninjato, ready for the next move. "Now." "Great work, Naruko," Kurotsuchi thought, hope shining in her eyes. Jin-E, however, reached for a smaller blade at his side, catching Naruko off guard and lightly pricking her shoulder. She winced but quickly recovered, removing the blade and tossing it aside. "You're very skilled," Jin-E said, smiling. "But it's not enough to stop me." Naruko gritted her teeth, her determination unwavering. He glanced at Kurotsuchi, still unable to move, and whispered an incantation, attempting another paralyzing technique. "And Naruko," Kurotsuchi gasped, struggling to breathe freely. "What did you do to her?" Naruko demanded. "I used the Hyogi spell, a variant of Shin no Ippo. But don't worry, it can be broken by a strong shinobi spirit or another skilled ninja. It's not permanent," Jin-E explained. Naruko clenched her ninjato tightly, pushing through the pain in her shoulder. Despite a momentary struggle, she found her opening and lunged forward, ready to continue the duel. Suddenly, two figures landed between Jin-E and the young ninjas, Mako and Genma, arriving just in time. You alright? Genma asked, bending down to Naruko. Mako-sensei. Genma, Kurotsuchi said, relieved. Naruko smiled in gratitude. You made it. Mako stepped forward protectively. Udo Jin-e, we meet again. Jin-e, now facing Mako, readied his stance. Well, Mako Uchiha. It's been a long time. Let's see if you've improved. Genma, take care of Naruko and Kurotsuchi. I'll handle this, Mako commanded. As the two prepared to clash, the scene panned to the sky, the sounds of clashing steel echoing across the landscape. The true battle had begun. Dear YouTube family. This is all for now. If you enjoyed the journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps the dream alive. Thank you for being part of Anime Dreams. Until next time, keep chasing your passions.